Young girls, don't cry. You're not alone in the fight. The broken, the unspoken. We can't heal if the wound is open. It feels like no one cares to see your heart is bleeding. The cry is ignored when you are ill. When the wrong, the pain and lies are kept a secret to gain for their own benefit. Be strong, be brave. You're too far away from the grave. Stand tall. We are here. We don't know the spirit of fear. We will overcome. Yes, we will overcome. We will overcome. Yes, we will. We will overcome. Yes, we will overcome. We will overcome. Yes, we will. Liberia, Liberia. When will we stop being the inferior? Our vulnerable children, stripped of their innocence. It feels like no one hears to see your heart is bleeding. Your cry is ignored when you are ill. When the wrong, the pain and lies are kept a secret to gain for their own benefit. Be strong, be brave. You're too far away from the grave. Stand tall. We are here. We don't know the spirit of fear. We will overcome. Yes, we will overcome. We will overcome. Yes, we will. We will overcome. Yes, we will overcome. We will overcome. Yes, we will. Liberia, we can't give up when they have turned their backs on us. Liberia, we can't give up. Liberia, we can't give up when they have turned their backs on us. Liberia, we can't give up. Young girls, don't cry. You're not alone in the fight.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Galpohkpa Chesson Talk Show. Today is December the 14th, 2021. We rise to news that the White House want us to use electric cars. The president is about to build 500,000 charging stations, electrical charging stations throughout America for electric cars. Why? They emit no smokes, no emission from the pipe. So we have an atmosphere free of emissions from the cars due to using electric cars. So this is one of the first steps towards cleaning up the air. On the other end, on the sad side, we know that 74 people have died in Kentucky from these tornadoes that hit middle America last week. 88 people died. This tornado went through several states. There's a report that one of the tornadoes that touched down stayed on the ground for 200 miles. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the devastation that tornado alone rendered? The havoc, 200 miles of nothing but F4 winds, almost 300 miles an hour, toppling cars, houses, everything. Can you imagine that? The noise alone. People said this thing stayed 1 minute, 30 seconds. But after it passed, the devastation. So through several states, 88 people died. But Kentucky was hit the most. Dawson Springs is destroyed. 75% of Dawson Springs is destroyed. Mayfield destroyed. The devastation untold. One of the men said he went into his neighbor's house and he looked around. He fainted. Everything looked different. He couldn't imagine what he was seeing. He said he looked around and saw what was happening and passed out. Some places the structure standing, but the whole interior is destroyed. Towns, Dawson Springs, totally destroyed. My heart goes out to those people. Let's take a few seconds in remembrance of those who lost their lives. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Besides this terrible, terrible tragedy in Middle America, we also know that the January 6th committee voted unanimously 9-0 to hold former President Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, in contempt. He started to work with Congress when they called him to appear before the January 6th committee. that's investigating the mess that happened on January 6th to overthrow our government. He went to testify. He brought 9,000 worth of documents. Then he stopped. Listened to Trump. He stopped. He went and wrote a book instead of coming to testify. And these are all the things that's a disrespect to the January 6th committee. This is our committee from Congress calling these people to testify, and they refuse it. So last night, the January 6th committee voted 9-0 unanimously to hold Mark Meadows in contempt. Now their decision is going to the full House today that will vote on it. And if it passes, it will be sent to the Justice Department for prosecution. So this is where we are. Okay? In Rhode Island today, right now, you have lower 40s. It will be 50 degrees. Okay? So I think that's my news so far on the bigger scene. Okay, next week on the weekend we expect the weather pattern to change. We have a lot of rain and snow mix, so it's going to be a cold rain. Okay, take heed and govern yourselves for that day. Okay, let's get into my lessons today. My topics for today are one, let my thing come around, please. Liberia's lawmakers are criminals or what? Two, Senator Prince Y. Johnson, Nimba County people's responsibility. And three, where patriotism begins. Let's start with my first topic. Liberia's lawmakers are criminals or what? You know, throughout our history in Liberia, corruption has festered. Primarily because one group of our society claimed to be the founding fathers, claimed to be the enlightened people, and the other group of our society, the indigenous society. These two societies were separate and distinct. This is what we have to understand about our society. Our Congo or Americo-Liberian society was separate and distinct from our traditional society. It was not until the late 1800s before our indigenous society was amalgamated or united into our Congo society as one Liberian society. But our indigenous people have always wanted to maintain their separate and distinct identity from the settlers. That is history. And these are the facts we have to face. Our indigenous population never voluntarily wanted to unite with our Congo people. But we cannot put all our indigenous people in one group. This is the same problem we make all the time. It will be even making now. Because all the traditional people in our society were now opposed to the settlers coming. All our tribal people were not opposed to the Congo people coming. Some of them willingly accepted the Congo people and joined us to build a new Liberia. Other indigenous Liberian people refused to join us, and they stayed by themselves. So we're two separate nations operating in the region. We had the American Liberian people with their indigenous Liberians working together, and we had the opposite indigenous people who did not want to mix with the American Liberians. It was not until the late 1800s that both of these groups came together and said, okay, we want to come into Liberian society. Our indigenous brothers and sisters came into the main Liberian society. So, since this has happened, we have never had a stable, unifying, dignified government. We never had. Toba then ruled, yes, but it wasn't a full Liberian people's government. Certain sectors of our society refused to identify with the main Liberian government. And they always say, oh, your thing, the people think, those people think. That's why we always had this division in our society. And the Congo people never really made efforts to go to unite these other people, to bring them into the fold because of greed, corruption, power, nepotism. All these things played into it. And this is what has been playing in our country since 1847. But in my mind, all these things just happened yesterday. In my mind, because I'm like, you mean our country just evolving since Tottenham time? Because Tottenham controlled our country for 27 years. He took years away from the leadership of our country. We're not used to that. We're used to changing our presidency every 4 years, every 2 years, every 3 years. Tottenham came with his new style and entrenched himself into power and stayed there and understood how to manipulate our indigenous people. Because of Ben Fremont, my grandfather played a significant role in giving our indigenous people allegiance to Tottenham. My grandfather, because he went and married my grandmother, formed pacts with Boto Barkley and all the people, brought them into and Tama Taylor, all the big chiefs, brought them into Monrovia. Told Tottenham these people had to represent their people because there cannot be taxation without representation. So all the chiefs and the only people that could represent our indigenous people were the chiefs because they were the leaders. So they brought all of them and put them in the House of Representatives. So Tottenham have had direct access to our indigenous people through their chiefs. So once the chiefs in the House of Legislature agreed, the people agreed. They followed the chiefs in direct rule. And this is what we practice, but we made it more official by bringing the chiefs into government itself, giving them houses in Monrovia where they can come and live in Monrovia. They call them the chief's compound, all those kind of things. That's why we got to learn our history. So here we are today, after years of all these things. Our country has not changed because in reality, our country started on a Tottenham. All the other years of Liberia's leadership, of Liberia's independence, of Liberia's viability and economic prosperity were drowned by Tottenham staying in power for 30 years. All of that were erased from our history almost. So our history became what Tottenham and the people of the Tottenham regime wanted our history to be. The education of our country became what Tottenham and the people of the Tottenham regime wanted our education to be. So all this kept Liberia down, shrank our historical existence into a Tottenham regime. So all our years from 1847, all of this was just shrunk down into one regime, Tottenham, from 18 from 19 something wherever he became president until 1970. They man stayed over our country, rule us with absolute power. Nobody could say anything against Tottenham. This destroyed our sense of democracy, our sense of constitutional elections and freedom. Because how would Tottenham stay in power for 30 years? How did he do that? He changed our laws. He changed our constitution. They were always amending the constitution. And these are people that had no love for our country, that love themselves more than the Republic of Liberia and the people of Liberia. Because nobody who loves our country would do that to our country. Typical example, George Washington of America. If George Washington didn't believe in democracy and the tenets and principles of capitalism and democracy working hand in hand, he would not have relinquished the presidency of the United States of America. George Washington was the most powerful man. He was the general that won the Revolutionary War. Everybody followed Thomas Jefferson. And this was one of the greatest things I've learned of Thomas Jefferson. Why? Because one day I was watching TV and they had this big celebration for George. I mean, sorry, not Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. They had this big celebration for George Washington, and this man left his state and came all the way to this other state, the George Washington state, to celebrate it. So the commentator asked him, man, why you left your state to come all the way here to celebrate George Washington's birthday? Why you couldn't do it in your state? He said, well, because I honor George Washington. Because if it wasn't for George Washington, we would not be the United States of America as we are today. He said George Washington, after being general, he could have been a dictator. He could have been like Napoleon, taking over the country and just start conquering other countries and ruling for life. He said, but George Washington didn't do that. George Washington served his term. After his term, he put everything down. He said, I want to be a farmer. He put everything down and left it and went go do farming. Went on a farm. He was finished with politics because he believed in the tenets that he had fought for and believed in and bred it and groomed. He couldn't destroy it. But we don't have these kind of people in Liberia. We've never had these kind of people in Liberia. Our people go there thinking about themselves and their family, instead of thinking on all of us. All of us. But they don't do that. They think about themselves and their family. Look at Ellen Johnson Sally, what she did to us. Look at Ellen Johnson Sally, what she did to us. Look at George Weah, what he's doing to us right now. After Ellen Johnson has stole, put her children in power, broke our country down, he tells us that we family, we must forgive Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Do you believe that bullshit? That's evil and corruption. How will forgive the woman after she has depleted our resources? The very thing she came to build, the very thing we repose all our trust and confidence. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf wasn't supposed to be president of Liberia. Our constitution says mulatto people can't be president of Liberia. Our constitution has interpretations. That's why you see the wording of the Constitution. We got to go back and debate it. Every article of the Constitution got interpretations. That's what lawyers do. That's what we interpret the Constitution. The Constitution does not have to say no mixed people or mixed blood can be president. It gotta say that. It gotta go into detail no, no. That's what legal training and education is all about. Debating our laws, understanding what the framer of the Constitution intended. You learn that in law school. You learn that perusing the legal ramifications of our country. So talking with them hindered Liberia. They hindered us. They didn't do us no good. Our indigenous people think Churchman did us good. Churchman didn't do us no good. I remember all of my indigenous people while you talking, oh Chesson, why you talking against Churchman? Your power benefited. No, because my power benefited don't mean that it was right. Those people benefited from their system that was their time, but that doesn't mean it was right. For us who are educated, we know it wasn't right. No democracy can exist when a president changes the law to persist in power forever. You can't do it. Democracy thrives on new ideals and ideas coming into the system. New ideas, new ideals, new way of doing things. That's democracy. That's the tenants. The tenants permit all these new things to come into our society. So the governance of our society has to conform to the changing trends of times that the community, that our constitution permits. And if we as people of Liberia don't understand these things, we will remain stagnant because we will try to change our tenets of democracy, our tenets that govern us into good leadership and governance. And when we try to change these things, it keeps us stagnant because our society becomes divided. And this is what happening right now. Look at CPP, look at Liberty Party, how they divided. You can't fix laws, then you come and want to try to change the laws and go back to the old laws. You can't do that. And this is what happening. You can't fix laws and you don't be sincere with each other. And people try to tamper with it and change it and do corruption. Now, yeah, our country, we have no leaders. We are leaderless because all our the people who want to lead us have shown that there's something wrong, that they like something, that there's a problem with their governance. So what's wrong? What's the problem in our society and with our leaders? Huh? Why it boils down to our society is just trash, man. We are trashed because we can't find within ourselves the blessings of God to follow our laws, to lead our people in the right way. You see? So when our president has oppressed our democracy for so long, our nation has bred nothing but corrupt people. People who are used to tampering our laws, to changing our laws, to not following the laws, because there is no way Tottenham could stay in power for 30 years if he were following the laws of the Constitution. Our Constitution started off with saying the president should stay in power for 2 terms of 2 years. Then they changed it to 4 years. Then they changed it to 6 years. Then Tuckman just said, oh, no 2 terms no more. Just stay there as long as the people vote for you. And Donald Tuckman stayed there for 30 years. Now we say, no, it's not right. We said, no, no, it's not right. Let's go back to 2 years. Now we come back to 2 years and still, we still suffer from the same thing. People tapping with our constitution. People tapping with our constitution. Ellen tampered with it in a different way. She tampered it by playing with the intelligence of the Liberian people. She knew our people are not intelligent. She knew that after a war that killed majority of our elders, that displaced our people and brain drained our country. The people left in our country needed guidance and direction. And if you love our people, you're going to give them the right guidance and direction. And she didn't. She started off that because we look for educated people. After they kill our people, we couldn't maintain our law of only having one group of people, of only having um, Negro people rule our country. So when Ellen stepped to the plate after she had been fighting for so long and stepped to the plate to lead, we opened the door to Ellen, expecting her to come and set the foundation for a new direction for our country and people, for a new leadership. But this is what Ellen brought to us, man. This is what she brought to us. Nepotism, corruption, change our lawmakers to make all of them warlords, criminals. So here we are now. Instead of having dignified lawmakers, instead of having lawmakers who care for the people, we take all the people that kill us and fought in the war and compensate them with lawmaker position. Now all our lawmakers are warlords, war criminals, economic rogues. We gotta sit back and reevaluate our legislature, because this is not a legislature that will serve the Liberian people. Look at our budget. That's the first thing. That budget is unrealistic. It's unrealistic. How you just pack things in the budget and there's no substance to the budget. The areas you're supposed to get money from into the system is not meeting your projection on the budget. You take the money from our country and give it to the lawmakers and the president of our country and forget about our schools, about our hospitals, about our children. This is not right. This is not right. This is far more wicked than anything that has ever happened in our country. Crime is being paid. We are paying people for criminals to commit crime. Crime pays. No, crime not supposed to pay. Crime not supposed to pay. But crime is paying in Liberia. It can't be that right. We are going backwards. We are going backwards. So this is where we are. Constitutional allotments. Look at the people allot themselves more money than our schools and our colleges and our children, our health department, our health hospital. The people gas for the car alone more than what they allotted for our elementary and junior high schools, for MCSS. They gave themselves more money for gas and car maintenance than they gave to our schools. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. So you mean that people prefer to ride good cars all the time and our children go to school because their children go to school. We're giving them all our money. They're putting their children in school, but our children not going to school. The people are taking our money and building institutions and building colleges all over in their names and charging our children to go to their schools and they're collecting the money and not the Liberian government. Something's wrong with this picture, man. What's wrong? The massive stealing, unaccountability. The people just put $30,000 in the budget for themselves and tell us that engagement, what kind of engagement? People using it to fix their offices, take money and just give it to people in the street, drug dealers. Our lawmakers are drug dealers, taking our money and giving it to people in the street, dividing it like that, their private money. This is not the way government is supposed to run. Something is wrong with our government. Liberian lawmakers are criminals or what? They're supposed to be the reason I'm on the lawmakers because this is the body that represents the people. This is the first body that's supposed to protect us. That's supposed to oversee everything and say, no, you can't do that. This is waste. This is stealing. This is killing our people. You can't do that. But instead of that, they're joining the fray and taking our money. These people go, each of these people, 133 lawmakers. Is that how much is it? Let me see, I had it down here. 100 and something lawmakers. 103 lawmakers. 103 lawmakers carrying home $500,000 each of our money. Salary, allotment, community engagement, 30,000. Bonuses for signing contracts. I mean, why are we supporting people? All are supporting certain people in our country because that our money, that our taxes we're paying, that our economic resources for our country. These people taking it and using it like that their pa and mom business against us. Something wrong. Something is not right. Something is wrong. So let me take a break. We'll be back in my second topic. Something's wrong, my people. Senator Prince Y. Johnson, Nimba County people's responsibility. Because he's been in our Senate now for 2 terms, and he feels that he's the savior of Nimba County. He is the power of Nimba County. He carries their votes. So our people have empowered this man so much that we have a king. We have a native king. This is a native king. Now we have no law and order. We have no law and order. Anywhere in the world that of civilized people, you can be the savior. You violate the law when you go into jail. You can be the savior. You violate the law. You go into jail. Because no man is above the law. No man is above the law. You can't say you're a savior of Nima people and you stealing our money. You play pay for play. You have been dominating our economy and stealing from the foreigners for years. You're getting more money than the government of Liberia. And the arrogance. Oh Lord. Now he's so arrogant. He's challenging the American people. The United States of America that made him rich. He's challenging them now. You see how the people do the same thing Gaddafi, the same thing with what other guy need to die in America here? Bin Laden, all these people. We build them, then they get so powerful. They start telling America, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, we don't care, we're coming over there. Prince Johnson got the arrogance to tell America he care whether they punish him or not, he's not coming to America. Can you believe that? This is unnatural. But we permit this. We permit this for kingship, tribesmanship, all these kind of things. We can't do these things. When we do these things, we put ourselves over Liberia. When we do these things, we put our tribesmen over Liberia. And that's what we call tribalism. And that's why Nimba people are responsible for for Prince Johnson, because there's no way this man can be as lawless as he is, hanging on to the Nimba people as his bedrock to stay in power for life. And Nimba people responsible for this. Nimba people contributing to the downfall of Liberia and Liberian people. Because you cannot put your trust in one man when we have a nation that is over all of us. Then you're going to put one trust in one thief called Prince Johnson. That he's so arrogant and rude and disrespectful. We got to punish Prince Johnson ourselves to teach him that he's not above us, to teach him that this is not a tribal nation. He can want his tribal people to take over and rule as a tribal nation all he wants. This is not Liberia. Liberia is not a tribal nation. Liberia is a nation of diverse peoples. We don't running no tribal camp or tribal village or tribal town or tribal entity here. Prince Johnson and these other native people who don't understand this shit need to get it out of their heads. Because our country is a united nation of one people and one nation with several tribes and settling groups. But nobody controlling our country. Our country is controlled by constitutional laws. That thing that happened under Tottenham and Torba got to cease and desist. We can't go back there. That is why we got to punish these criminals leading our country today. With the Prince Johnson, the lawmakers, the George Weah, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, her children, all the economic rogues, Emmanuel Shaw, Archie Bernard, Sarah Allen, Benani Ewing, all these criminals got to be punished without exception. And they're my relatives, but I will punish them. I will flog them with all regret. And I will let them know you got to be flogged. You got to be flogged because you stole from the Liberian people, because you are a criminal of the Liberian society. And we want to change our society. We want to lift our people up to a new era of progress and advancement and development and advancement. And we can't do it with rogues among us, stealing from us, telling us they work for shit. You can't work for that thing, Benani. You can't work for A.C. Allen. You're building yourself, you're still living off the Liberian people, acting that you're rich people. You ain't rich people, you're stole. And you're going to give it back. in the time of the Liberian people. It's not. That's why my people got to follow Attorney Commander Galpohkpa Chesson. Let me free us. Let me free us. We can't have people like Prince Johnson, Charles Taylor, Benina Yue, and all these useless criminals running around our country talking about they saving us. They're not saving nobody. The time for that is over. And if they themselves don't know that it's over, we got to let them know it's over. When it's over, it's over. People can't just go around imposing extended periods of power on themselves at our expense. Hell no. We got to let them know enough. It's enough. It's enough. It's enough. It's enough. Aluta! Continue. Let me take a break. Let me take my coffee break. I come and end my class, okay? Where patriotism begins. Patriotism begins when we come to our consciousness of the value of our law, of the value of our constitution, the value of our people, the value of our oneness. When we value these things, when we take them precious to us and know that it doesn't matter whether you're from Cape Town or Basel or Maryland or Grand Jita or Nimba or Lofa or Margibi, when they curse you, they curse me. When they hurt you, they hurt me. When they do injustice to you, they do injustice to me. And I'm coming after them. Just like I hope you will come after anybody who do that thing to me. Then we know we are patriots. We know we understand what patriotism means, what brotherhood and sisterhood means, what being one people means from one nation. Yeah, we got our problems. We got our little country, little Congo problems. We got our little evil people in our midst. We got our little greedy people in our midst. We got our little similar corrupt people in our midst. We know them. We straighten them out. But when it comes to us, we are us. You gotta be my brother. You gotta be my sister. You gotta be my cousin. Can't be Liberian. When I hear that name Liberian, I turn around. I say, "Oh, they're my people. I gotta pay attention to them. I gotta seek their needs. I gotta help them if I can help them. I gotta open doors for them if I gotta open doors for them." That's Liberianism. But when you hear my name, oh, that do Chesson people, oh, the Congo people. No. When you start doing those kind of things, you have no understanding of patriotism. You're far removed from the concept of unification and integration. Because when you're Liberian, you don't do that when you hear other Liberian people name. No, you don't do that. Yeah, maybe corrupt officials. If I go somewhere and say, Samuel Toy, I say, man, to hell with Samuel Toy, I ain't going there. If I go somewhere and say, oh, the other man here, even George Weah, I say, George Weah, yeah. I say, why I want to see George Weah for? I don't want to see George Weah. See, that's the difference between individuals and the country and what it matters to us as a group. When they say Liberians, we know they're talking about all of us. They're not separating Chesson from Weah, from Duo, from Tue. They're not separating us. We either go there as Liberians or we fail. So these are the things we have to understand about patriotism. Why patriotism differs from regular love. Patriotism is love. It's love. Just like agape is love, but agape is different from patriotism. That love is different. Agape love, for all of you who like to use that word, agape, it comes from deep. Agape is like family love, parental love, that kind of love, agape. So when you look at patriotism and all the kind of love, that different kind of love. I can love you as a lover and not a teacher and not a parent because those loves are different. Those love don't want intimacy with me. Those love want to develop me, want to interact with me, want to do the best for me, see me grow and prosper. So they're different kind of love. And you got to understand patriotism is the love that comes from us who love diversity, who love unification and integration, and who just love other people. So that's the difference. But patriotism, you can be patriotic, but you don't really have to mix with other people. Everybody got their own idiosyncrasy. You just got to do what you got to do to maintain your country and people cohesively as one people and one nation. You're gonna go on and mix with people. All of us can't do it. All of us don't feel comfortable mixing with people. All of us don't feel comfortable drinking with everybody. All of us don't feel comfortable eating with everybody. So people got their own little, peeps. Peeps. Everybody got their own little thing. But we gotta understand that when it comes to the greater good of our nation, our personal peeves and interests and greed cannot overpower the interests of the whole. And this is where true love comes in. This is where patriotism comes in. When the whole is greater than the part. Aluta! Continue. Have a good day. My class is done. I hope you learned something. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay?